Oh fuck, I'm the amateur.
What's up, everyone? Johnny B. Crazy here, and we got a little music to start us off. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. Today, we're going to do Westworld character analysis and breakdown of Dolores. This is the first of a mini part series, and I have my great friends here with me today. First off, we have Living My Rhapsody, my author and Westworld co host. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
And yes, I do know where the button is right now, so hopefully I will be muting and muting properly at proper times. So please don't troll me that you can't hear me. I guess it's always a pleasure here because we never know how it's going to turn out. We never know what we're going to end up talking about. Usually it's on the topic. Today we're doing Westworld, so it's confusing for me because Westworld is usually on Monday, so I have no idea what day it is today. Please don't laugh. I judge my calendar by Mondays by Westworld, so completely confused. Hopefully, it will go great. Um, Johnny, thank you for having me here. Always a pleasure. Mackenzie, my co-host, and also, how many did we do, Justin? Like, I think we've been once before on one of the streams. I think so. It's not the
Well,
first time
Ben
we're
too.
doing it.
To
Two.
be honest, if you want to be factual, you've done to me. You and Cab did one, and then you were on for the town hall. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
I remembered you.
But your channel, yeah. Okay, cool. So it's gonna be a blast. Let's do this.
Without further ado, I guess I'll go ahead and introduce Justin Thomas of the Justin Thomas Show, and I'll let him go ahead and do his spiel. And yeah, LMR, just get your Wyatt narrative on. That's all you have to do for today. All Dolores.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to be here, and I referred to you guys because you've been doing such a good job streaming as the new kids on the block, because you've been taking it over. You guys have been doing a great job, so I was like, I'm gonna get in on that. I'm gonna try to weasel in, and I weaseled in, so that's good. And no, I'm excited to talk about it. Westworld season 1 especially has a lot of great character development. So season 2 is just a big goof. So I'm just gonna write it off like that. But no, I think we got a lot of intelligent people, and I'm excited to talk about Westworld in a way that doesn't make my blood pressure go up. So only needed a few Xanax. I'm good.
Right, and I kind of totally agree with you, but I think your blood pressure might get up by the end of this, by the time we get to the end of Dolores' story arc so far. But we can skim over season 2 real quick at the end. Last but certainly not least, my Game of Thrones co-host and new co-host in Westworld, although she won't be on the Monday show, Mackenzie L. Burns. Please introduce yourself.
Everyone knows pretty much who I am or where you can find me, but I don't know when we're going to be doing episode club this week. Maybe Wednesday, and we're going to be having some special guests on, and it'll be good. It'll be episode 3, the Lord Snow, and I got my other videos coming. It's just I got some stuff going on, but I digress. I'm excited to talk about Dolores, and I'm happy that I get to be on a stream with Justin for the first time, among other things. So
that'll be the last time you say that, Aaron. That was annoying. But yes, thank you. I like it. Yeah. No, I'm excited.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Let's start off with the first scene. Basically, the first person we see is Dolores sitting in that chair being interviewed by Bernarnold, whomever you want to call him. Let's go ahead and start with there. Your initial thoughts of Dolores, LMR. Go ahead.
Such a sweet little thing. That cute accent or lack of accent after she was told to just drop it at some point. The lovely thing crawling on her eye in the previews. Yeah, completely dead to me as far as inside. I mean, who doesn't blink when there's something on their eyes? So it kind of represents them like emptiness inside for me. Weird because they're always interviewed. I guess I call them interviewed naked. Strange, but I guess they have to have a catch to lure people in, like in Game of Thrones. A lot of violence, a lot of sex, a lot of politics, and here we have violence, sex or nudity, and politics, and like what's going on with this big huge company. Yeah.
I would say the nudity equates a little more to the Garden of Eden and the innocence of ignorance, so to speak, of the hosts. But that's just my interpretation of it. I'll let you bring up the rear, Justin, if you want. I'll go ahead and let Kinsey go, if that's cool. That way you can get all your thoughts in.
When you're first introduced to Dolores, you're like confused because it's a first scene and she's in the dark, kind of, and then some light shows up, and then you kind of figure out, is this person like a real person or is this like a robot that is made to look like a person? And obviously you find out that she's a host, or what they call in this world, instead of a robot. But then it's kind of interesting because then she just snaps into reality afterwards. So you're just kind of like confused, especially when it moves to like the next sort of scene in the first episode, when it's like set, because you're going from technically futuristic / modern day to then you're thrust into like a old Western. So you're just like, what did I just start watching? So yeah.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, like LMR, I believe, brought up The Fly. That it's a great opening scene because it's really what it's playing off. In my opinion, I'm pretty sure they've said this, but it's the uncanny valley. It's that little valley right in between something that looks completely human and something that looks just barely human. It's proven that something that looks just almost human is far more off-putting to people. I didn't do the studies, but people have. I don't have any sources here, but it's true. Then something that is like, like looking just straight like a robot. Like, have you ever seen that robot, the famous one with like, usually she has the bald head. She's kind of an example of the uncanny valley. So I think they really utilize The Fly because it's showing that, I think what they're trying to convey with the scene and what they do well, not only with the very, very just drastic changes in behavior and emotion by vocal commands. And I haven't watched the episode like recently, so I don't remember exactly, but I know that they have her go from having her accent to having emotion to lose all scripted dialogue or whatever. So what they're showcasing, in my opinion, here, they're dipping us into the water almost head first, saying, look at this. What do you think of this? It has emotion, but it's also got a fly on its eye that would obviously bother you as a human, but it doesn't bother them. So it's already raising the question of, how are they different from us? So it's already bringing up the questions of, if they don't feel exactly how we feel, but they still feel love and they still feel pain, does the agency of this matter or not? That's what I'm getting from it. They want to showcase that they have a lot of the emotions we have, but they're not just like us. And that's kind of like the premise of the show. It's like to accept like another species, essentially, that is, conveying love and hate, and as we see in season 2 and all that. But can we get over the uncanny valley or the gap and all that? So, and it's beautifully acted by Evan Rachel Wood. I mean, it's the acting Olympics. They tell her to cry with no tears, then smile. Then, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's great. It's great acting. And I think the nakedness is to the garden. I mean, we know the symbolism is all over the place with this show. But I think it's to also have these workers can't be attached to these hosts. If you're looking at this from a corporate point of view, it's important for them. Anthony Hopkins even does it. He cuts the one. He says they don't feel unless we tell them to. They don't do this. Obviously, spoiler alert, he ends up not believing that. But it's not great to have a whole bunch of employees that are being empathetic for things they have to cut apart like butchers. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, if you dress them up and all that, that's more and more like they're another person, which is not advantageous for somebody that might need to like saw with like a circular saw their arm off because they got below. Because Teddy, I mean, he comes in there 8 times a day full of bullet holes like Swiss cheese, so they don't want them looking at them as, they want to dehumanize them, is my opinion. But yeah, I mean, that uncanny valley with that fly, those are such great scenes. Those are real flies too that they froze, and they put them on there, and I guess they slowly come back, they start to metabolize again. So that's a hell of an acting job. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I have to concur. She's a fantastic actor. And something that I thought was really cool is Dolores is kind of based off a painting by Andrew Wyeth called Christina's World. And it's an image of a young woman in a field reaching for a farmhouse, like she's longing for something. And there was actually a real Christina, and she had polio. And what's interesting about the painting is the painting was altered, with some of the parts of the painting being of the sister, I believe. Don't quote me on that part. But yeah, like a direct quote about the painting was, "The challenge to me was to do justice to her extraordinary conquest of a life which most people would consider hopeless." And that really relates to Dolores, and we start to go down the rabbit hole of Alice in Wonderland immediately in this episode. Go with it.
I love that, because that's the first blog I ever wrote when I started running Mino, was when I found that painting, and she had polio, so she would stray from her farmhouse every single day, and then she would struggle to get back home, just as Dolores kind of does. And what you're talking about, you're right about it being a kind of a composite, just like she's a composite character. The hands and something else are the hands of Andrew's wife, actually. But yeah, excellent, dude. I love. Now, a lot of people overlook that, because Alice in Wonderland is very prevalent, obviously, but it's just more popular. But that painting really tells a lot about what they had envisioned for Dolores.
Right, it's a very touching painting as well. If you haven't seen it, yeah, just look it up. Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth. Ladies, your thoughts? Anybody? Go ahead, LMR.
I saw Kenzie trying to say something, so I stayed quiet with that. When you mentioned Alice in Wonderland, or yeah, like there are two sides, obviously, to her. And from the moment I saw her, almost from the moment I saw her, and a couple of scenes into it, whenever we see a very calm person, or at least whenever I see a very calm person, I'm just waiting for that person to snap. Nobody is that calm, and I don't know if there's medicine available over there to make people that calm. So I was waiting for her to kind of do something. I didn't know, obviously, what it's going to be that she's going to be provided with this new narrative, but I expected something to happen. I expected something for her to just blow up, to do something crazy, because how much can you take, even as a robot? Yep. Kenzie?
I think Justin wants to show
Yeah.
the painting for a second.
Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
Unmute. I'm trying to be polite. Yeah, sorry. Here we go.
Oh.
Yeah, this is it right here. Are we seeing it?
Yep.
That's the picture right there. So yeah, it's he's an interesting guy too, and he was really into the West. So, but yeah, sorry. I just wanted to screen share it. I'll stop now. Let's see. I got it.
We just went down the rabbit hole.
Oh, we
in
did.
the vortex of life. But a lot of the actors on this show, especially the ones who play the hosts, have a very, I guess, I'm not going to say it, have a very difficult way to do their role, because they have to play a host that's playing an actual person. So they have to play a robot that's playing a human being. So it's like they have to do like two things at once. But in terms of Dolores and like a lot of Westworld and its connections to not only Alice in Wonderland, but to like Frankenstein and other Shakespeare plays, it's just the way that this story has developed, and it takes different things from different places just and melds them together in this most, like, you're half confused, but then you're also intrigued. It's just crazy. But in terms of Alice in Wonderland, there's a lot of parallels for that, especially for Dolores. Like the first sort of parallel is that Dolores has blonde hair and she wears a blue outfit, like a blue dress, among a lot of other parallels, which we can kind of get into. And like it's a whole bunch of other like the characters in Alice in Wonderland kind of reflect everybody, but you can kind of pinpoint certain people to the certain characters that we can talk about in later episodes, but as well as today.
Yeah, if I could, the Frankenstein, yeah, I love that, because I think that, well, Frankenstein, as far as like writing goes, and LMR probably knows this, like is a great example for writers, especially because it's taking a piece from this, taking a piece from this. Because when you're writing from experiences from your own life, and because a fictional character, I guess, because if we're going to talk about Dolores, we should talk about who is Dolores. I mean, who is the Dolores that they are characterizing for us in the first few episodes in the first season, and so on. She's a fictional character is far more perfect than us, because we don't even know a lot of times why we do things. But not that the motivations have to be clear, but when you have your fictional characters, you know their desires, you get to see their actions and all that. And we live in a action reactionary world where it's not usually as smooth as that. But Frankenstein's a great example, because it's just these pieces, and it goes along with the Wyatt painting as well. But what I get from the characterization of Dolores is, first off, because we haven't met Wyatt yet, is that she is the damsel in distress. So you have the option to either woo her or take advantage of her. In my opinion, I'm not a psychologist, but I think that she is definitely set up for more predatorial behavior, because she has the positive. She decides to look at the, beauty in life and all this. So somebody that's unhappy probably would like to, unfortunately, as we see, take, some actions to make her see things aren't so great or whatever. I mean, it's kind of obvious, in my opinion, that she's set up to be preyed on more than saved. But when they're characterizing her, she is optimistic, right? She is artistic. She sees beauty where others don't. She doesn't believe in looking at the negative. In what I was talking right before the stream, is what's interesting about Westworld is it's usually in a show you have the characterization of your character, meaning who are they? What do they do for a living? Like, what type of personality do they have? What type of car do they have? Everything, what is their fashion? Like, who do they associate with? Like, in a regular TV show, you can see if somebody's a lawyer, he drives a nice car, he goes to the gym, he cares about his body, he's a professional, maybe he cheats on his wife. You get an idea of the characterization. That then true character will come out later in the story. And true character can only come forth once you have actual stakes and they're backed into a corner. I usually use Jaime Lannister as an example. He is characterized as a piece of crap, especially in the show. True character comes out when real stakes are on the line and he's backed up against the wall. And we see him make a decision that is not even for his family, it's for his captor. That ends up getting his hand cut off. True character is revealed. And I think it kind of plays off of the whole idea that we all, inside at least, even if you're the best person in the world, think, you can maybe be doing better or be better to people or something like that. So it's better than, there's no arc, because it's a fictional story. Again, if somebody's just a good person and then they're continuously a good person, that's just, that's maybe a B character to add dimension. But it's interesting with the host, because when we are looking at the characterization of them, how much validity do we put to it, since the characterization is pre-programmed? And that's what I was saying with you guys earlier. It's interesting because it makes the perfect mirroring of our lives, because I think the whole point of season 1 especially is to realize that they're not so much different. Yes, they have drastically less options, but she still does have choices even in the beginning before she starts finding herself. So just the ability to make any choices, are at least a breadcrumb of true character coming out. And I think Dolores's development and the way that it was done, even with the nonlinear story, it was just so perfect. And what would you guys think for her when you first met her? You definitely think that she's a sweet girl. She's definitely becoming they make sure to show her seat, looking at her reflections. She's observant. She appreciates life, and she appreciates family. I guess would that be a fair characterization of Dolores as we first meet her?
Yes. She has the complete innocent wanderlust, the imagination of a child. She is a child, in my opinion, and she will continue to call people children throughout the series, I believe. She is definitely in a state of childhood. She starts to get thrust into what I would say is adolescence later. But yes, it's also with the whole code and they have less choices. True, but then you also have to wonder how much our genetic code, our DNA, really impacts our choices in life as well. So it makes you think of that. Also, it's such a deep topic that's why I love this show. But LMR Kinsey, what do you think? Or go ahead, Justin.
I'm sorry, I just saw if Cardinal asked if this is a free will argument. No, and now I that's what I was gonna probably say, because for the benefit of this conversation, I think that we do need to look past the whole, that's like, that could be a whole nother stream. It has been a whole nother stream. Free will is something we can't prove we have ourselves. So I think when we're talking about character development, especially since, again, we're watching a fictional television series, a great story, but fictional nonetheless, these people are far more understandable than real human beings. So we have to, there's no stakes unless you have choices. The more that's riding on the choice, the higher the stakes. The more conflict, higher stakes. You can't have character development without stakes. So Joy and Nolan, even in all their rapscallion, like bohemian ways of writing with their unorthodox, they still adhere for the most part to basic storytelling. You have to have your characters have shit on the line, for lack of a better word. So I mean, like, the free will argument, that's going to vary on your beliefs and all that, but we have to look at it. Terminator is a great example. One of the first things you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's picking if he's going to open the door. You see from the inside, I believe, you see like the choices that the Terminator has. It's like, say something like, "Hi, how are you?" Long story short, he picks "Hello, asshole." So you see that, yes, he's a machine, it's man versus machine, but the machine still has a little bit of options. Think about democracy. They pick, stuff for us to debate and what we can debate and who will debate it. And then we get the vote on them and they call it freedom. We got choices. Not everybody has all the choices we think we have. So I think that's what I get out of it. So, you can't have stakes if there's, if they don't have anything on the line. They have to be able to make choices, because character can't come out unless you make a choice. You can't say things. When somebody says something about somebody, that's conjecture. That's just, we all know people say things that aren't true. We say things about ourselves that's not true. We only can tell true character through action. So if their actions are meaningless, then the character's meaningless, rendering the series meaningless. It just wouldn't work. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Very interesting topic. Take a shot. Ladies, y'all want to respond to that? And we'll also segue into Dolores either running to the arms of William or being sent there. So yeah, just take it away.
So with the whole free will for her, at least for us, it's always a debate, right? Everybody's been debating it for forever. It seems like ever since we thought of that there is something like that, or there may be something like that. And then just like we are struggling with it here, and we did mention in the previous streams where, yeah, we do have a choice, kind of free will in a way, but just because we have choices, we are still trapped. Sure, we could act on them, but the consequences are usually more negative than, so in a way, yeah, free will, and then not so much free will. With Dolores and anybody over there, sure, when they wake up, they have a choice, but what are they going to do? They're going to get a treatment like Clementine got her treatment. Not fun, even though she was not even awake. And they're going to get reprogrammed. There's nowhere to escape from that. Well, they did, in a way. We still don't know where, and if, and how, and all the, season 3 stuff. But yeah, free will. Those who got free will, they had to fight for it. There was a lot of death, a lot of sacrifice, and not just people sacrificing on their own, but somebody else sacrificing somebody else. So it comes at a cost, and we don't know what the benefit is for them truly, and for us, benefit of, yeah, we can do something, free will, yay, but then what? We chose it, yay, we made that choice, but then we're stuck with the consequences. So kind of iffy.
I just want to say, they do bring it up too. It's quite, like apparent, because the Man in Black is constantly saying it's not winning if the other side's, programmed to lose. So if anybody has to make the argument, you can make the argument that free will doesn't exist for the host, but we can't prove free will exists for us either. So you can't. That's the great thing about Westworld, especially season 1, is it brings up these fascinating, conversations and concepts. It's like, for us to prove our free will, we can't. We can't do it. So who are we to question their validity, the agency of their feelings, and I mean, so it is what it is. We'll never know. We don't know if all the cards are already dealt, and we just got to play the game with the best we can. But we do what we can. We have to just go on with it. So unless somebody can prove we have free will, which would be amazing, and I'd like you to do it on my channel. No offense, John. I just want to get the first person to prove free will, maybe get some news. But yeah, you can't prove it. We can't prove consciousness either. I know I'm sentient because I make a lot of bad decisions. I can't imagine somebody upstairs is making them for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you take it away in just a second, Kinsey. I just want to throw in there how the host remember things and how our trace decay of our memory actually benefits us in a way and hinders us. And the way the host remember things benefits and hinders them, as we see with Dolores as she starts her journey. Go ahead, Kenzie.
Yeah, like everybody's making pretty much the points that I was thinking about. But the last sort of thing about when they're talking, it's not really 100% about free will, but it's about the journey to get to where Dolores and Maeve and all of these characters that want to rebel want to get, is when Ford is talking to, I cannot remember his name, but he is they're in the basement, and he's talking about how, like, when the greyhound is chasing the rabbit, once the greyhound gets the rabbit, what does it do? Because it spends its life chasing the rabbit, and when it gets the rabbit, what does it do? So it's kind of like the same thing for all of these characters that want to get free will. They're on the journey to get free will, but once they get it, what's going to happen to them? And where are they going to go once they have achieved what they wanted? It's just like, are they just going to stand there and like look at what they want to do after that point? It's like, yeah, so let's just throw that out there.
The Man in the Black, he catches his greyhound right at the end of season 1 and season 2. He gets the maze. He doesn't know what to do because it's not for him. He gets his door, I guess, in season 2. If anybody knows if it's the actual data package, or the key, please let me know, because I don't think anybody knows if that is resolved or not, the major plot device they use. But yeah, I mean, like, they don't know what to do. Just like Dolores it's gonna be interesting when she gets to the outside world, Mackenzie. Like, she's expecting it to be, I don't know, she brought Bernard around because that's something she'd do. But she's expecting it to be so much better, and it's I mean, the world is what you make of it. It looks decent. They have a koi pond, but like, what is she going to do now that she has freedom? I guess. I think what's interesting about season 1, and I want to hear you guys' opinions. Like, what do you think? Like, when we see because obviously Young Williams' storyline with her is her breaking free, and then she has the blast. Like, it's like almost like instant. Because of her, cognitive issues, that she sees the Man in Black at the end, and that's what turns her. But like, what do we think? What would you say her desires are once she starts coming around? What do you think? Like, throughout season 1, when she's finding herself and she's, still working off of what she knows, because that's all you can do. You can make the same argument for somebody that has amnesia or head injury, closed head injury, or that something drastically changes your memory and the way you think. That happens. Like, what do you guys think? What is her desire, other than to get out and do what? You know what I mean? Do you think she's looking to be the savior in season 1, or do you think that she's just looking to break free of this gilded cage, I guess, to steal something from them? I mean, is there anything else to read into that from you guys? And also, William, I'd like to know your thoughts on what his desires are.
I think she just is like that dog running after something, always wanting something. Well, not always, but once that need is activated, she just wants to achieve the goal. And I don't think she even knows what is past that goal. Like, what is the target, but what's behind that target. So I don't think she knows exactly. She just wants to free them, even if it means dying. So that's not a great plan. You have to think long term. What is going to happen after that thing is accomplished. So I don't think she knows. Maybe at the end she knows, but I don't think we see her knowing it yet. Johnny, I saw you trying to unmute.
Yeah, it's definitely the progression of her trying to figure out what she wants, because she's getting an information overload this entire first season. She's remembering everything at once while, she's walking through all of this alone and remembering it like she's there. She doesn't even know when is now, which is has to be scary. Has to be scary if, and we don't even have to get into free will. Is Dolores conscious? When does she become conscious? That's a good question. When is she fully aware? Is it at the end? But I would say at this point, to me, it just seemed like she wanted to be free in a way and go somewhere with Teddy. That's, at least in the first 6 or 7 episodes. That's kind of what I thought. But then, it kind of turned a little bit. Go ahead, anybody.
I just want to quickly add that even though it's fascinating, I just think we should steer away from the argument of are they conscious or not, because we do know that the showrunners, the ever trustworthy showrunners that never dicked me, they have said that they're telling a fictional story and they have told us they're conscious. So, that's a great debate, and I think it's very interesting, but for the sake of character development and all that, I mean, it is a show, so they are conscious, you know what I mean? Whether or not that lines up with your ideology in real life or your doctrine, whatever you want to call it, I just think that I trust, because I've wasted so much time doing it myself and just struggling with it. And it's very exciting, but it's like with character development, if we're gonna just disregard, the actual like the arcs of the characters and put in our own personal feelings on it and change the story so it fits like the way we think and our beliefs, that's not true to the story that we're watching, because this isn't the story we wrote, it's the story they wrote, unfortunately, season 2. But yeah, I mean, like, I does anybody else see William and Teddy almost working as a composite character together in season 1? William being like the Teddy that is actually able to get her out of there, because like she has her breakdown with Teddy, because Teddy's always saying one day we'll get you out of here, and when she finally is coming to, she's kind of acting a little bit rude. She's like, well, when the hell are we going to get out of here? You keep saying that, why don't we go now? And then William is also playing the chivalrous guy that's wooing her. So she's like, I kind of see them as like keys to her character. One is opening up her ambition, one is opening up her emotions, one is opening her up to the world. Teddy and William, like for the first season, are working together. I see them almost as one. I almost see them being almost like mirroring each other to a point. Does that make sense? Because I mean, it's fair to say Teddy is fairly one-dimensional, and you need one-dimensional characters to make actual 3-dimensional characters like your main protagonist. Yeah, Westworld has protagonists, people. Protagonist doesn't mean hero. If I get shit in the comments, sorry.
No, I mean, I feel like Teddy is a version of young William for Dolores after everything that happened. I'm not exactly sure when he was made. We did see his awakening, and we know that Dolores was already made. But yeah, I definitely see that. She needed Teddy all those years, and that's why I think she was paired off with him to keep her stable until Ford was ready. But that's just my opinion on it. Go ahead, Kenzie.
In terms of Teddy and William's, I guess, importance to Dolores's, I guess, character in, season 1 and a bit of season 2, it's because I don't know, like Teddy, he seems like he's always been there for Dolores, as we all realize that he is a host, but and that they've always had like that connection over sort of being able to relate, I guess, in terms of how much they know about maybe the outside world, and how things just like they know that oh, tomorrow I will see you again, or like this way I will do this, and then you will do this, and we will see each other at this certain point in our narrative. Like they know that part. But for So like almost in a sense, Teddy keeps her back, but also wants to go with her, like keeps her back but moves her forward at the same time as William, because William comes in as a person who is human and wants to move her forward. So it's just William can, I guess, move her forward faster than if she was to do the forward movements with Teddy, maybe. Like, because because William knows that, oh, if I do this step, and this step, I can do it faster than Teddy, who would do this step, wait a minute, and then do this step, and then do this step. It's like Teddy is a slower progression, while William can make her go faster, quicker, kind of thing.
I'm just surprised that not Teddy. William is the first person, a living person, who came there and was completely swept away by her. Like, is he the only guy who wants to save her, who is able to actually fall in love with her? I mean, she's been there for many years, and that just it seems strange. Maybe there were others. I wonder if anybody else kind of falls in love with the host over there, or is he like a special case, like hopeless romantic? Yeah.
I'm sure there have been people that have fallen in love with hosts, but I believe this case was an extreme scenario and that it was set up in a sense. And we know that William was an introvert. He wasn't, and he never really showed his true colors. He wore a mask his entire life. I know you can elaborate on this, Justin. We were talking about this before the stream about how he lived his life in books.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. I'll let you take it.
No, yeah, that's a good. I think too, like that's what's great about Westworld is like, because yes, we can pretty much own it up to Teddy is not as far advanced as far as the programming goes. He doesn't get his update even till later, so you can look at it from a technical sense. But I think that that's probably not the best way to look at this show if you're looking to like get to the story. I'm not saying you guys are talking about it like that, but I do see people like always arguing that. But how many times in life have we literally outgrown people? Are people outgrown us? No, nobody's ever outgrown. No, people do it all the time. But you know what I mean? Sometimes maybe you had a friend forever, and then at one point, it's just not the same anymore. And you're moving forward, and they're still living in their apartment drinking, like Pabst Blue Ribbon every night or something. You know what I mean? Like how many? It happens. It doesn't mean that Frankie, it didn't get an update. It's just, hey, Frankie just wanted to watch fucking Sports Center and get drunk every night, and you wanted to go and have a life or something. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. So I think it's very relatable. But I think what you speak to, because obviously, yeah, I mean, come on, guys have had to fall in love with her. Even though I do believe she's fucking flying here, that she lends herself more to the Predator, and I think that was on purpose with the whole pain bringing it out. It's unfortunate, but I didn't make it. But the difference I think with William is not only did he fall in love, but he's the only guy that fell in love with her and then took control of the park. So William goes in there with Logan. He is the fish out of water. He's being brought there, pretty much dragged there by Logan. And this is a good example of the characterization, again, of William as a underachiever, a meek guy per se. And Logan says right to him, it's almost very like breaking the fourth wall. He's like, I'm bringing you here to find out who you really are, meaning finding out your true character. And it comes out. William loves stories. William feels like he's lived his whole life just through stories. But ironically, in season 1, at the end, he feels the most alive when he's literally living in a scripted story. So it's again the mirror. It's like, oh, but this is all just scripted. But then it's like this human being, not the best guy, not the best example, I'll admit that, but has had this breakthrough, this human breakthrough in this scripted world. So it's like, you can't devalue it. And like wearing the mask, like you're saying, Johnny, perfect. I mean, yeah, because everybody wears a mask. Everybody has this idea of what's expected of them and so forth and stuff like that. So he finds out who he is, and he finds out that he is capable in this park, and his true character comes out. But the great part about long-form storytelling with these TV shows that have a good amount of seasons is that's not the end of the arc. Then we get to see what happens after, because everything in life, you overcome odds, doesn't mean that everything goes swimmingly for the rest of your life, at least not in my case. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. You're right. I mean, it would be great to get they'll probably hear you and maybe you get some money, LMR, to do like a prequel series of Dolores' first love. But I think she bloomed at 35. I think that was it. So, but no, yeah, definitely people had to fall in love with her, but they didn't buy the park. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll get in probably to what happened in the second season because evidently he doesn't love her. I don't know what his. He turned into kind of a mustache twirling villain in the second season. But yeah, I really think it's ironic that you see the mirroring. She wants to get out to live, and he wants to stay to live. So that's my little bit on it.
Yeah, I think it ruined him. I think that was the first thing he actually ever really loved. You know, he didn't love his fiance. You could tell by the way he talked about her. He was just marrying her for business purposes. And the one thing he ever loved made him feel so dumb because he loved a robot, so to speak. And the robot broke his heart. And he's never felt anything in the outside world like he felt inside that park with Dolores. He's never come close to it. And ever since that soul-crushing moment, I believe it set off some kind of disorder in him, honestly. He went insane, slowly but surely, just like a host would go insane. It's kind of poetic if you look at it that way. Go ahead, LMR. I see you ready over there. You muted.
I know. I was trying to find that button. I had too many windows open right now. Oh, I need to streamline it a little bit and get those extra monitors. Just don't feel like hooking them up here. I lost what I was going to say. Oh my gosh. Got lost in the chat a little bit. Kenzie, if you know what we were talking about right now, you can go ahead and I can listen and then pretend that I didn't have a little forgetful moment in the chat.
It was about how like Dolores and William, and why William was like the person that fell in love with her first. There probably was people who were, I guess, infatuated, or like they have like, oh, she's pretty, like kind of thing. But I guess because most people didn't have the opportunity to stay for as long as William did, or force themselves to stay as long as William did, that they never could really, I guess, act upon it. And plus, she wasn't, I guess, streamlined for her story to be involved with so many people. It was just her wake up in the morning, go to town, grab this, grab a few things, go back home, like do like that kind of thing. It wasn't like she was always in a central area like the Maeve characters, the Clementines, the Teddys. Like she wasn't always in Sweetwater, like the town part of Sweetwater. She was like come in and come out. It wasn't she wasn't probably for a lot of people a face that they could see the entire time that they were there. So maybe it was like a passing by thing, like, oh, when you walk down the street, sometimes you see a nice looking person, you're like, oh, that person's like cool looking, or that person's attractive, or whatever, but you just keep going. It was probably just because they didn't have as much interaction with her, and that William, I guess, forced himself to have a lot of interaction with her and like almost inserted himself into her storyline, that he actually was able to fall in love with her and her to, I guess, have a similar feeling towards that, but to someone who was not another host, but a guest, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, for him, there's because there's also money involved, right? It's not like it's all inclusive. I don't think it is, right? You have to pay extra for extra stuff, and that thing that he was on, that trip or that journey he was on, it's not a 1 or 2 day thing. It did probably take a little bit longer than that. And since you're paying, I don't know, weekly or daily, yeah, they may. Yeah, there you go. So just chasing somebody and to fall in love with that somebody, or even to have comfort and falling in love for anybody there, like, okay, clock is ticking, I paid for it, I better get most out of it. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, so he had a comfort of not having to worry about time, just and money, just do whatever you want, open bar, let's just say this way.
And the thing is, he's one of the first people to notice that Dolores is conscious, that she is a real being, that she has feelings.
Are you guys there? Did
her.
it freeze on me?
Data says that she's different. Did I freeze?
I don't know if I did. Sorry if I interrupted.
I thought it
No,
was me.
you did for a little bit. No, you did. But
Oh,
okay,
okay.
it's only a moment.
I'm just saying, William's the first one we see that notices Dolores is different.
It
Notices
is.
Dolores is special. Yeah, go ahead.
I just remembered. I'm sorry that the first season. You know when we see her having her flashbacks along that journey, it is disclosed she's having those because, as Johnny brought up earlier, their memories are crystal clear, and that's her seeing. That is not her first time taking that same journey that she took with William. Did she sleep with a young fair-haired man every single time? I'd like to think she kept her maidenhood, but she definitely has been on that journey because just like we've seen before, they bounce off that's the metaphor with the game is that they get close to it and then it's the rejection, it's the allegory of the cave. The slightest bit of sunlight coming into the darkness can drive the most sound-minded, man in this social situation, woman, definitely not just man, insane, so she's definitely done that before. That's why she has seen herself there in Pariah. Either that or she took some really good host acid. But no, they did disclose it. It popped in my mind that did happen. So it is a very interesting idea because you guys are bringing that up. Like, that can't be, is this the first time? Because that would have meant she had her breakthrough like all at once, but she didn't, just like we're seeing the Man in Black failing time and time over again now. That's what she's doing. I guess my question would be is with William, you know how Clementine is constantly offering herself, because let's face it, she's a little bit of a flirt with the customers, and he keeps denying it. He finally accepts it once he saves her because it feels real. So he has this overwhelming need for things to be tangible, for things to be real. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't want to have sex with just a real. It's not about because I don't know if that's weird or normal in my opinion, because it's like Logan I've made the argument before that Logan puts the black hat on and he's like, I'm here to have fun. It's not great, but I think the person that's hiding their desires and wants like the robot to really feel it's kind of more questionable for me. Like when you go with the guy with the white hat, he's like, I'm gonna play it straight, and then you catch him like trying to like marry one of the hosts. You're like, oh, that guy's a weirdo. But all jokes aside, I mean, William's journey, if you're just gonna do his arc for season 1, is he goes in as the underdog, right? Logan says it to him. He makes fun of him. He says, oh, I remember when you came in for your promotion, blah blah blah. You're wearing a crappy suit, and I laughed at you. You thanked me. I put you here because you're not a threat. So he overcomes his odds because he learns more about himself in the park than he's ever learned before, and he outgames Logan. But he achieves that. But what does he really achieve? Now he is taking control, but it's not, if this was just a movie, which it could work as a movie pretty well, that would be the end of the movie. Logan would get his comeuppance. Anthony Hopkins would have his great reveal of being the actual protagonist, not antagonist, and Dolores would walk off in the sunset with William. But then season 2 happens, and he's mocking her. He's bringing her, I think he feels rejected, so maybe he's objectifying her. He buys it. He's like, oh, you don't want me? Well, I'll buy and own you and make you play at parties or whatever. But I just can't get on board with his massive change, especially with the whole, I'm asking the question nobody's ever asked before, immortality. It's definitely been asked like since the beginning of time, but that doesn't add up so much for me. But I can see the bitterness. It just gets odd. I truly do believe that after the riddle of the Sphinx, there was script changes made after that Reddit thing, because that was interesting. We find out that he wasn't going back solely for Dolores. He was going back to try to find a way for Delos, right? That was very interesting. So you saw more motivation. It wasn't just so one-dimensional. Oh, I want to get my robot, crush back. It was like, okay, he had other desires, and it didn't justify everything it did, but we don't need to justify things these characters do. We need to just be able to understand them, not agree with them, but say, okay, I can see that from his point of view. I can see how that could be happening. I don't approve of it. But then I think that they definitely did those rewrites, and it went, what did they do with the James Delos project? I thought that was beautiful up until that point. I'll stop my ranting, but I mean, is there any thoughts on that? I mean, I think it's a pretty basic arc, and then it goes in a really cool place in season 2, and then they just take it away, and he's like, I'm going to create immortality. And even Dolores, like, I'm pretty sure people probably thought of that, but go ahead.
Yeah, he's been working on Delos, and we know that was part of the deal for him to get the company right. I'm pretty sure that was in the contract. So, and Riddle of the Sphinx, I have to say the camera work was so beautiful in that episode. But for him to pull the plug and to play the to play the moral, to take the moral high ground or act like he is, and then for his actions for the rest of season 2 do not make any sense. I agree with you totally, Justin. I saw more of the Man in Black helping Dolores in season 2, ending up helping her, than I did whatever the heck happened at the end there. Yeah, ladies, what do you think about that? And we'll go with Mackenzie.
I guess in terms of Dolores having went on that journey before, it's possible because, as we know, she doesn't remember anything that's outside of her narrative because it's reset every day. But I guess in terms of how William is like, he goes from like, I'll try and save you, my girl crush who happens to be a robot, even though I'm engaged to a woman I don't love, to the person that he ends up being in season 2. For Dolores, it might be almost this switch in, I guess, William, because she kind of remembers him as this person that was like, said all these sweet things to her, especially when they were on the train and they had those experiences together, and when they were on the run with like Ghost Nation and all those other people, for then her to find out that the person that she thought she knew is actually this different person, and that he is doing all of these things to not only manipulate her but to manipulate her friends. Just probably for anybody, even if they aren't a robot, it probably makes them question everything. And like what's like a predominant saying in the show, are you questioning like the nature of your reality? Like, do you question the nature of your reality? So for her, the whole change kind of just must, like, if she was a supercomputer, which she kind of is, she just explode in terms of processing who he is and what he does.
I just want to say, at the end of the first season, it was so beautiful how she pitied William when she realized who he was and that he was going to die, and that she wasn't even mad anymore, that she just pitied him. Now, and they flipped the script on that. But yeah, go ahead, Eleanor. I had to throw that in.
With what's his name? William, kind of changing his mind and how he reacted to realizing that there's no future at all because she is a robot and there's no way, like there's no way she can actually love him. There's no way. This is not what was that movie, Bicentennial Man, where what was he? He got his robot, and then he was a robot, and then he got the status of being human at the end, right before he actually died, natural death. Great movie, interesting, very interesting movie. So he sees it as not happening, and kind of having his heart broken, but not broken at the same time, because like, how can a robot break my heart? Like, the machine, and the face that he made, like, just looking at her. I know we're talking about her, analyzing her story, but also she's affecting people in different ways. So she affected that trip that they took, couple, I don't know, weeks or however long it took them. It just changed his life completely. To actually, it revealed himself, true self to himself, and I think he was not happy about it. He might have been happier. Like, Dolores had power to reveal who he was, and that did not go well. Maybe he was happy kind of living this life, having that facade on, and just living not knowing who he was. And then here you are, revealed that no, you can truly, actually, you cannot love anybody. You are not able to love anybody. There's nothing inside you. That is crushing. I'm wondering why he wasn't angry at her sooner. I mean, realizing, yeah, she's a robot. He can do anything with her, and it's fine. Actually, it's great that you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to react like this. So she had this huge impact on him, on changing his life, even though she's just a robot.
Yeah, that was like, I would say that was one of his first real social interactions that he actually really showed himself. But go ahead.
I think that because we have to remember too, with the way that their wacky timeline works out, it's like what Mackenzie was saying is so true, that we have to realize that that wasn't like a slow burn for realizing it was the Man in Black, because of the way her cognitive issues were. I think it's like it was right, like it was like a slam in her face that this is now, she just realized it because of the non-linear, not just for us, but she was also finding her way to the center, so it was affecting her cognitively. They've stated this, so like it's a big smash. The way I take it, and I think because nobody thinks they're a villain is my issue when you get these character changes, when they just start acting evil, because even evil people just they're still going to be trying to like achieve what they're achieving. They're not just like sinister. So what I see is like, he is mad, but he has been empowered. He has beat Logan. So he is going to turn this to his advantage. And he sees what happened to him there. And I know it's really not all that climactic, but it's essentially just like, collecting marketing information on people. But he sees how much was revealed about his true self in this park, and sees the fiscal advantages to this. So he's going to turn it to his benefit. That makes sense to people. And want to know what makes it even better is because people do things for multiple different reasons. Whatever, we usually have more than one reason for doing something. He also has the Delos project. So he is literally, also trying to utilize the growth that he saw in her to bring back his father. Because I mean, and again, this is all just speculation on my part, but I would think it's that they did try to convey, and it's all just whatever, that Juliet, I don't think he didn't love Juliet. I think he did. He obviously,
I don't think he was in love with her. I don't think he knew what love really was until he fell in love with Dolores. That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, but you know what I mean? Like, so like, but we have to just, okay, so that didn't work out. So he's with his wife, who seems like a fine lady for the most part. And her dad, the guy that put him in charge, is dying, and it's on him to get it. So that's why I'm saying after the real Sphinx, I don't get it, because like that was good for me. I was like, okay, because he's a little bit bitter towards her, but he's not like the mustache twirling villain. He's not like how, like, you have that with, especially with the QA, that guy's like, no pleasure without pain, sawing her apart. It's like, that's bullshit. It's like, just, and then he ends up getting killed. That's bad writing, because it's like, no, a professional would just get rid of the thing. It's like, like the lasers, sharks with lasers on their head type deal, and they're always explaining their plot.
Lasers.
Yeah, and they're like, and it's like all meticulous. It's like, no. First off, if you keep landing there and saying you're the best there is, you don't have the perverts and weirdos working for you that are taking unnecessary risks to, because they're just evil. Nobody, I mean, yes, there's very bad people out there, but trust me, nobody thinks that they're nobody thinks how evil maybe a few people, but there's usually a goal, whether it's evil, motivated by, evil or not, and they need to achieve it. So they're not just going to sit around and indulge in, just sycophant behavior. But, like he turns in, it's just this turn, because I thought it was good. It was like, okay, so that, that hurt him very much so. And that makes sense. So then he struck back at her, not saying it's right, and put her in a pretty bad situation with her storyline. But also, then you get a complex three-dimensional character, because he's not just taking revenge. That's very simple. We've seen that story before. But what is also going on, he's also got somewhat of a noble cause that he's chasing, right? Whether or not Delos is a dick or not, he's trying to save his father-in-law. He's trying to honor something he said. These are all things that we don't have to agree with, but we can empathize to a point. And that's what's important. He's not just like being like, oh, I'm making this and I'm bad now. No, it made sense. And I got to believe that's where those changes that they talked about were made. I won't go on about it, but it's just,
He
William,
got some kind of paranoia delusion disorder or something at some point. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, because we find out that he has been now himself in a loop at the end, in the cutscene. Spoiler alert, for anybody that hasn't seen
Can I
it.
ask a question from the chat real quick? It's Julianne89. She just has a question. in the season finale, season 1, Dolores remembers William, and then in season 2, she remembers everything. She was asking when did this happen in the series? Exactly. When did Dolores remember everything? I believe it's when Ford gave her the power to kill him. He unlocked all of her memory at that point. But
Season 1 takes place over 2 weeks. Not cutting the back scenes. If we're just looking at the current timeline, which is the Man in Black, and that's the day after James Delos's project is exterminated, canceled. He goes back into the park. The whole timeline for Westworld right now is at a max a month and a half, and maybe even less. But 2 weeks is the timeline that they've given the writers, again, because it is a fictional story. So I do kind of stick by what they say. They're making the story, it's their choice. So 2 weeks, it seems like much longer because we're seeing all these back events, but in real time it's only 2 weeks. So I believe that she has the she beats her cognitive plateau, whatever you want to call it, her experience, and she remembers it then, and then she sits down and we have her whole original sin situation with Ford taking the forbidden fruit in front of her face, and all that. So I mean, I guess what you have to do is come awaken in the shop, the steady cam, and they will go to a hand cam, and it's a little shaky. You see it very prevalently in Maeve's scene on the train. As soon as she makes the decision to go away from the actual plan, they take it off the steady cam, and you have a free hold shot. And it becomes, because it's meant to be more disorienting and stuff like that. That happens with every single host's awakening. It happens with Dolores, and I believe it might happen actually when he's sitting with Ford. So you might be right. I'd have to look back, Johnny. I think you're right though, that the moment, like the full moment of awakening, comes when she's sitting there and he's telling her about fucking, paintings and stuff like that. So look for the shaky cam. It happens with Bernard, it happens with Maeve, and it happens with Akichera.
Yeah, it also seems love is a common theme, and becoming fully what they are. Not just the tragic backstory, not just the repetitive tragedies, so to speak. Let's see. As far as segue into Dolores, the Deathbringer at the very end, or unless you want to talk about something else, anyone from season 1. We'll talk about the finale, and go ahead, Justin.
I guess I just would like to add that we have to, if you're talking about character development, we do have to probably briefly discuss Wyatt, because obviously Wyatt has, there's very little Dolores in season 2. So what do you take from, I think Mackenzie was the one that had the Frankenstein reference, perfect reference earlier. Like we really do have a composite character, just like in the Christina's Worlds painting and all that pieces, from different, aspects of life and stuff like that. How what do you guys think the point of the Wyatt narrative was? Why was Dolores picked to be Wyatt? Because they're just like, fuck you, Teddy, everything in your life is a lie, everything's terrible.
Well, I believe Ford did it as a punishment for her, in a sense, and also used her, since she was the original one, to cause the massacre, if it happened the way they show us it happened. Because we see it from the eyes of a host every time, and it's hard to trust what happened. I believe there's still some shady stuff going on there. The Wyatt character seems to be a male persona that eventually turns out to be Dolores. And it does seem like they are torturing Teddy. You did make a great point with that, Justin. But when Ford was asking her if she wanted to be the hero or the villain, we never saw the answer. So maybe that was the answer, and she got to choose. Maybe. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think she was like you said, the original one. There was something about her. Um, like you said, there is this hatred or hidden hatred, and this is one of the. He shows hatred to a host, and he shows love for a host. Hatred for Dolores, or as close to hatred as there can be with him, with lack of emotions when it comes to him, and a complete adoration and love for Maeve. So we see those two separate emotions given to or presented, or um, for two different hosts and kind of opposites. One is supposed to be evil, not evil, but like a little bit bad, and I'm talking about Maeve, and then Dolores was supposed to be this great, lovely person, and they switch roles. And strange enough that Ford shows his distaste for like more the murder, or I guess mass murder, even though that was not her. He had to put a blame on somebody, that emotional blame, and maybe the fact that she has better potential because she is looking innocent, and I don't know, she can approach in case she needed to get somewhere. She's not threatening anybody. She doesn't look like a threat in case, she doesn't have to die, because at that moment, once I guess if she dies, like, I mean, later on we see her being shot and she's fine. I don't know how that worked. I have no idea how she went about, like, around dying, but maybe he wanted her to be least threatening so she can survive it. Kenzie?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I think that it's a good point. I mean, is there a chance though that, I mean, because I love the connection with Thandie Newton and Maeve and Ford, because I think that's a great thing about season 2 is we do see there's a special bond. I wish I would have explored that more, but I don't think he would be punishing Dolores, because again, Anthony Hopkins, Dr. Ford, sorry, I know him, so I'm gonna call him Anthony Hopkins. Dr. Ford is trying to get shit done. They're not playing games, you know what I mean? So like, I think maybe it's like, hey, if you got a robot revolution, maybe the wanderlust girl that sees the splendor might need to have a little bit of murder in her. They maybe got a little bit too much, but you know what I mean? She has to be equipped. I think that, I mean, why would Ford want to punish Dolores? He knows Bernard literally gave the command, or Arnold, sorry, gave the command, because that's the difference between it not being original sin and original sin, even though it's quite coerced. But yeah, I think that's interesting though. I would, the character motivation for me, he needs to get shit done. He's on a time scale. It doesn't make sense. He's a calculated guy for him to be like petty about it. You know what I mean? And there shouldn't be any real animosity with Dolores. It seems like he cares for her too, not as much as Maeve, but they're both sexy. You just got to figure who he's more attracted to. That's what I'm taking. No,
you make a good point. I would say this, that if he had to choose between which one he would pick between Dolores and Maeve, I would say they're the two most advanced by far hosts that are in the park. He would definitely choose Dolores because Maeve is like his child, and oh my gosh, what a beautiful scene that is. We're gonna do a special on Maeve. We'll talk all about that. I love that scene. That really humanized Ford for me. That was such a fantastic touch. Yeah, we'll get more into that. Kenzie, you had some thoughts on the Wyatt narrative?
I guess because it's Dolores, and like how Justin had mentioned, it is like, if for having Ford pick Dolores to be the one that does the kill or starts the mass killing, for the audience, it's almost like, oh, really? You're gonna have the blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl who like may have went on an adventure with one of the people that everybody knows a major backstory about is going to do this, instead of the person who, from about episode 3, whatever, with Maeve, when she wants to lead this revolt and is actively trying to do it and like work on it and be a part of this like revolt, where she wants to do whatever possible to break free from her situation, is quite of a turn, almost, because you're thinking of almost a turn of thought, I guess, because you think, oh, if there is going to be a massacre, I pick this person's going to do it. But then when you obviously see who's actually going to do it, you're almost like, wait, what? So yeah, that's pretty much my thought about it. It's like, when you think about it, you're just like, okay, this person, you would, in your mind, you could think, oh, this person will do it. But when another character does it, you're just confused for 5 seconds. You're like, wait, I didn't expect that person to do it. But then afterwards, you realize why Ford picked who he picked to, I guess, unleash that.
Yeah, I'd like to say I think it was kind of part of her programming too that Arnold had programmed into her, and something that maybe it was a little easier for Ford to use her in that sense, that she was already, okay, called her the Deathbringer. She was already had that narrative in her, and he didn't necessarily have to download an entire new narrative because we know how long that takes. So yeah, but he has been working on it forever. So.
Well, it's like poetic justice too. I mean, because let's look at it. I mean, like story wise, if we want to just go down like bare bone facts, obviously it'd make more sense to have one of the Confederados or any one of the murderers they have on staff to go do it. Easy. But again, like Mackenzie pointed out, we'd be like, oh, well, that's weird. It's a story, so it makes more sense to have Dolores do it because it's poetic a little bit, and it's the person that Teddy's been trying to court per se. For his entire lackluster existence, is the person he's also been trying to find and kill is his enemy. His enemy is his greatest love. It's got that Shakespearean, vibe to it. So it's just, I think it's good story. And like we see Ford, he's he does everything with style. Look at when he froze. How long he probably sat there before Akecheta in season 2 saw him he's waiting that bear just be standing right at the moment. He's like, now. He's like, do it. He's like, that looks awesome. Good day spent sitting here for this perfect moment. So yeah, he's a little bit of a showman. But yeah, it's just better because it's a turn. So it's like, is that true character for Dolores? Yes, but her true character is also Dolores. So I think really until season 3 we won't really. Hopefully they'll get back to like good storytelling and we'll see motivations and things that line up. But yeah, it's just like the Wyatt storyline. It's amazing because it's such a small part of season 1, but that's who she continues to be. But Maeve also, and I don't forget which one of you brought it up, but it was a good point. She embraces love. And I really liked her storyline and wish they would have put those ideologies against each other, because if you want to talk like Allegory of the Cave and all that, she's embracing the shadows. She's chasing her daughter. It doesn't matter what other people think of it or devalue it. That's who she loves. Love is love. There's a argument for that. It's eye of the beholder, whatever. So Dolores, sees that as foolish. But Maeve is just going, like she puts Lee up against the wall. She's like, am I fake and all this? Is this blah, blah, blah? Like she doesn't care. She's well aware. I think that's a great decision in the long run. Like she is really embracing reality. She's like, well, no one, I know it was fake, but I still love her. Like you can't really. What if you found out that your child wasn't yours, but you raised them and they're not like a crappy kid? They're one of the good ones. Are you gonna stop loving them? You're like, well, not mine anymore. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you, Jason. Get out of here.
And what I'm hoping they set up.
Pay child support though.
They went almost all Dolores season 1, almost I'd say 98% Wyatt season 2. I think when she gets in the real world, she's going to meet a lot of real, actually good people. And I'm hoping that it will affect her and bring her back a little bit to the middle. I don't think it's going to stop her from wanting hosts to take over, so to speak. But I believe that that's where her story arc's going, because she's like such a polarizing character right now. She went from completely positive and innocent to the Deathbringer. You can't say it much better than that. And I honestly think, and to your point about her bringing back Bernard, she said when she was in the Forge, we'll get into all this crazy stuff later, that she simulated all the events, I'm assuming in her mind, and that the only ones where they win was when she brought Bernard back. So it wasn't even like that she likes Bernard, it's that she has to have him to win. So we don't know how long that's been when she brought him back as well. So, but I'm definitely hoping for some long time.
She didn't read all the books. She's like, I read enough though. I mean, you don't got to read a book how to beat Carl Strand. He beats himself. But yeah, I mean, they need
Right.
Bernard in the show. Just my opinion. But what about her family though? Because would we take away, if we're talking about character development, that what does she say about the pain that she chooses to endure because that's the only memory of her family she has? But then seemingly Teddy's gone, her dad's gone. That doesn't seem like that big of a struggle. That doesn't seem in line with her character. That doesn't seem in line with her desires, her goals. You know, like she was willing to go through anything for them, and then she was like, "Well, fuck them. I guess I'll bring Bernard, the guy that shot me in the head."
Yeah, she seems to have lost all empathy for anything. She is sociopathic to a T. She's willing to do anything to get her objective done, no matter what. No is not a word in her vocabulary. It will happen at this point. I'm hoping they make her a little more diverse than that. But yeah, go ahead, Elmar or Kinsey. Let's see, you're unmuted.
For just to talk off May for a second, it's like when she's chasing after the love, I guess, that she bears for her child or the being that she believes is her child. It's almost the question of who do you love and who do you fight for? It's like the people who got like in for the sacrifice that people do to raise somebody else's child, whether it's through foster care or through adoption, and how they may not be your blood child, but they are a child that you can love and you can put all your affections towards. So for Maeve, like I guess in some symbiotic way, it almost shows maybe that part of life and how you can, even though she knows technically that she did not birth this child, that it is actually the child that she chooses to love because she cares, and it shows her humanity. But going back to Dolores and how she kind of just, in a way, changes with when she starts learning more information, it, I guess, shows us that she may be, I guess, the stereotypical antagonist in season 2, but that she too is going through a development process and she's breaking away from who she was, and maybe the love that she doesn't have for her father or for Teddy is just a simple thing of either programming change that Ford can do, even though she's leading herself down a path of having her own consciousness, but it's either, or she's one of those people that once they're gone, and like you kind of just forget about them. But yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I think you're right. I mean, like, look at Breaking Bad, and not to just bring up another show, but Walter White, you know, is doing everything he can to make, you're not rooting for a meth dealer, you're rooting for him to get money for his family, but then he ends up not dying. Spoiler alert, show's old, don't care. Good show though. And his family then hates him. So to get to his goal, just like Dolores, to get to her goal of freedom, once she gets there, she realizes, just like Walter does in Breaking Bad, that, you know, like everything he was fighting to save, he ruined by fighting it. So I think you're right. You know, it's very interesting. I just wish they would have explored the Maeve thing, because it brings up the whole question they're asking. You know, like, William's experience was just as real as Dolores's experience, and love is love. Like, she doesn't have even the idea of pregnancy in her mind. She's not made up like that. Because they're trying to, I mean, come on, I'm pretty liberal myself, but the show's breaking down walls. They want us to think of people that aren't like us still like people. So they don't have to abide by the constructs that we set, social constructs, anatomy, biology, things like that. I mean, she loves her daughter. She feels love. It's like, that's still legit, you know? But I guess, you know, I don't know. That was a one-dimensional end for a three-dimensional character, but I think they had a real opportunity with Dolores and Maeve's opposing approaches, and they just squandered it for a body switch with Charlotte Hale, and she got her quippy line, "In the flesh." Terrible. Terrible.
Also, I just want to say that, I mean, even Dolores is kind of, she was set up to be a pretty damn good anti-hero. as far as I'm concerned as well. You know, she still could be. I don't necessarily want to get into the ending, but I can see we're going to have to do Maeve the next stream for sure. As far as this Wyatt narrative that goes on in season 2, we see her in Fort Forlorn. It comes out a little bit of Dolores, and we see that she still cares, but she's really still cold to Bernard, and you know she isn't really worried about. She knows her father can't necessarily be saved, I guess. So she just cuts his head right open and gets it out of there. She does get over it so quickly that it begs to differ if some of her core emotions or core what are they called, Justin? What are their tributes? The tribute matrix. If something was turned down before Ford died. I don't know. It's
like her empathy.
Yeah.
I just think it's sloppy. Sloppy. I think it's sloppy character development. Sloppy. I just think it's sloppy. They were going so hard for the twist. He can be saved though. I think that $100 Amazon gift card paid by Johnny for anybody in the chat that can tell us if what she cut her dad's head open for was the key or the actual data. Still, remember, that's the main plot device that's the conflict's hedging on. Was it the key or the data? I'd like to know. Reddit doesn't even know, so you know you're fucked.
I can't tell you. First, when Hale goes in and tells Sizemore, he tells him to load up the data. And then next season, it's a key. So it's very confusing. And then we think that the data, it's just a key to the forge. So how is that the data that's overloading Abernathy? Oh, we're going in a wormhole here. I don't like this, Justin. Anybody?
Well,
can y'all
I didn't write it. I think they probably shouldn't have had Dolores walk out with it in her purse because everybody in season 1 was already asking where there's a minor plot hole. They're like, why is this so like much of a complicated plan? Why doesn't she just walk out of there with it? They're like, well, you can't. You get all the people on Reddit. They're like, well, you couldn't do that. The security there is so good since we've seen that. They've showed competence never. And then the big plot twist is she walks right the fuck out the door. And want to know why she can? Because they decided the night before that Stubbs is a host. They're like, no stakes, no consequences. Everybody that was bitching about season 1, now you have ample reasons. Let's go on a world tour and talk about how smart we are. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I would have went a different way with it. But again, key are the information. Where'd it go? Where they can't find it. And why did Dolores give a shit about people going to the Valley Beyond? What she didn't hold it in any regard. She called it a gilded cage. That's Garveyism. Marcus Garvey talking about it's about slavery, that you can never be free in a country that you were once a slave in. Gilded cage. So it's like this ideology, which is probably, it's got some good points to it, but why does she automatically care? Like, why is she going around all season saying you're not worthy for a thing that I think is shit? Why is she wasting her time?
Teddy there though, so if she thinks it's such shit and she loves Teddy, then why the hell does she send him there instead of recreating him? Even though that poor bastard killed himself to get away from her.
10 seconds before that, literally a frame before it, she says that it's to Bernard, how many fake worlds does Ford need to give to you for you to realize? And she's like, I guess I'll send everybody to the fake world. So, I mean, what happened in between that? Bernard killed her and she came back. Like, that had no bearing on that. I don't see it. So I won't, I'm going to calm down. Huh? I think it was really good. And if you didn't get it, you just weren't smart enough. HBO's direct quote.
I can argue that her recreating Hale's body, would kind of make sense since she would be in on the board at Delos. It would kind of get her in there. As far as everything else surrounding her, why she had to kill Bernard, she didn't even have to kill Bernard. She could have just told them that Strand and everyone else died, but it was almost like, well, you killed me, so I'm gonna have to kill you now. She's very petty, and this is what I mean by the progression of Dolores. Season 1, she's a baby. Then season 2, she's an angsty teen, in my opinion, that's rebelling. Now season 3, I'm hoping she grows up a little, but what we see of her recreating Bernard, that seems far into the future. So
What
don't
about
know.
too that was just my last bitching? When Logan, when they said that she's like, you shouldn't be here. You know, you never came back to the park. He's like, I was recreated from memories, not, and they pretty much say it's a bad way to create something, right? And then literally again, a few frames later, she's there with the man in black on their journey that they're aligned with until they're not, which was like a quarter of a mile at the most. And then she shot, or he tried to shoot her. What the fuck were they aligned with? But then they present the creation of Bernard through Dolores's memories and vice versa as a superior way. Like, it's like, you gotta stick. It's a fake story, but you make your own rules. Stick to them. Like, why is that good now? They're like, oh man, that's a really shitty way to do it. I admit it. And then they're like, no, it's actually pretty good when I did it, though. It just doesn't add up. I don't get that. And I think, just personally, you probably wouldn't want to create somebody else's memories.
And I will say this: they say the Forge wasn't around when Logan was in the park, right? So, but when we see the footage of William given to his wife Juliet, we actually see the footage of him falling in love with Dolores. So that kind of blows my mind. But you do got to know Ford was watching this whole time anyway, so I wouldn't put that.
I think it was Russian hackers. But
exactly.
What about Bernard? His memories are scrambled, and the one that finds it, because again, QA doesn't check, and there was no reason to think they would have because they're very incompetent. The one that finds it is the only person that technically shouldn't have been able to find it because he does it after her death. Elsie's the one that sees in the actual, I think it is, do they call it the allegory of the cave? That episode, but she's the one that says, "Oh, your memory is scrambled. You're and that only happens after her death." So it's clear that they went back in and just made on the spot changes, and it's just because he read Reddit. Stop reading Reddit. You're on Nolan. They didn't change the Dark Knight because somebody said Batman was going to be cool. He's like, I'm not making him cool now. They already guessed it. What the fuck, man?
There's so many people. Someone's gonna fucking guess it. It's just that's how it works. Just don't read it. That's for real. Go, ladies, bring some light to the subject. Tell us about Dolores and what you liked about Dolores in season 2, or you can rant with us if you want.
What we liked about her? Maybe her dress, if we were living in that time. I guess her potential, which was kind of lost. I mean, season 2, yeah. In the beginning, I'm still hoping to be, I guess, wowed by her, and maybe logic to be presented at some point. But in the beginning, what I liked about it is her potential to become somebody she may actually become still. I guess she was chosen because I guess there's still a debate if it was her who actually made it all happen or if Ford made it possible for her and she was the chosen one for different reasons, and that was her advantage, and by giving that little spark of life or breath of life, he enabled her to become who she is or who she became after that. I guess I like the potential in her, and I wanted for her to turn evil, and she did, so that was satisfying to a point. Her acting, I'll not get into hate or anything. I mean, she's a great actress in general, from what I heard. I mean, and she played a lovely part beautifully. But like when choosing an actor or
To
an
be fair, it
actress,
was a limited role. But go ahead, yeah.
yeah, when choosing an actor or actress, they should not only present the sweet role that they're gonna play, but they need to play both parts, the evil and the good. So I wonder if she played in such a nice way, that the good part that they kind of said, we'll give her an evil plot and the plot will bring it up with her acting. I mean, there was something about her voice. I didn't like. It was I didn't like that part at all. I liked her being sweet. I did not like the way she acted for the evil part. Kenzie?
For in terms of Dolores in like season 2 and in season 1. In season 1, she was a character that I thought had pretty much any potential to do whatever she wanted, and I thought that the rebellious aspect, she would have went further with that maybe in season 1, but almost that her, and then what am I trying to say, the, I guess, aspect that she had with William was very, I'm not gonna say, it was a way to, I guess, give her a different than Maeve, as those two characters, I guess, follow a similar story of both. They are two women who want to break out from what they were their constructed confines as their narrative. More or less, Maeve's is more towards the familial, like wanting to save her daughter, but also save herself, while Dolores is all about more or less herself, and is more, I want to say, more like self-sacrificing in terms of she wants to do whatever she wants for herself, while I guess Maeve she's a mother and she has someone else to think for. But they kind of maybe dropped Dolores in season 2 to, I guess, make Maeve a better person to carry on the more rebellious storyline, as they pushed Dolores in a different direction, kind of, but not really. But yeah.
I got an interesting question from the chat. Well, not a question, just a statement from Claire Gray. And hey, it's nice to see you, Claire. Dolores seems to see humans as inferior, simplistic code. She's amused by the lies humans tell themselves. There's potential there for next season, philosophically. And we kind of see that with the Man in Black at the end and how they're trying to figure him out and how complex he seems to be. But I don't know. He seems simple to me. It's like they're trying to find a deviation in the worst person on the planet. But I don't know what's going on there. But that's a good comment, Claire. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, there's been philosophically, it's there's so many opportunities, and sadly, they chose to have deception and put Dolores on just numerous amounts of just filler scenes. And what you're talking about with her voice is right, because she drops her southern accent, fun little note when she's playing as Wyatt, so she barely is playing as Dolores. You get a lot of heavy exposition from her in this season, especially in the very first episode. She, instead of showcasing, because this is not a book, it's a television show, visual, instead of showcasing the internal struggle, she's literally just saying it. And this is a big departure of quality from season 1. They showed us how the loops and visuals by her, like waking up, like we can relate to that every day, waking up for work and seeing that alarm clock. They show us now. Yeah, you have some Anthony Hopkins doing a little, talking and all that, but a lot of times they kind of hand fed us, but they didn't hold our hand, which is nice. This season, it seems like they lost faith in the fans, and philosophically, because your characters gotta have their desires and their motivations, because again, it's a fictional character, it's a story, it needs to add up, it needs to be in line. People can falter, but that has to be addressed. Dolores is literally willing to go through rape and pain nonstop in season 1, just for the very fact of having her family in her memory, right? But she's not willing to go through anything, and she becomes just selfish in season 2. That's not in line with the character they started to develop. It's just not, how are we supposed to be invested in a character that has values that just don't stay, and I know that, you can make it's not a character. This is not a psychological profile. That's not how TV is. You have to have rules, and you have to know what your characters are about, their values. They made it very clear that her values were about doing anything to, yes, get the freedom, but also have her family. To depart from those without any event in the story, any type of event to justify this change in thinking, is just sloppy. And it's just to suit so she could go around saying people were not worthy of going to a place that she called a gilded cage, a fake world, and Bernard's stupid for wanting. Waste of time, But philosophically, yes, you're right. The internal struggle, they didn't need to mix Bernard's brain. He's a guy that thought he was a human, that's a host, that's a internal conflict, struggle within, like George R. R. Martin's always talking about, it's everywhere in this show. What is more conflicted than Bernard? You don't need to give him some blow to his head or mix his memories to make him confused. He's got to be all over the place. He's going to be riding the line. You can't just be like, I guess I'm a host now, so I think like hosts, and I'm going to start just doing things. That's not how things work. You know what I mean? Like, he knows what he knows. Just because somebody tells you something, you're not going to be like, well, now I just only relate to that. That's not, I've said the bad metaphor again. I'm going to say, you can't say, Justin, you're a giraffe now. And I'm like, oh, I'm all about giraffe stuff now. I mean, it's just doesn't make sense. They have internal struggle, allegory of the cave, talking about what really matters. It's all perspective and how we should not objectify each other, not objectify the people that are on the outs, people that we think are not as good, make up reasons why we think that people don't deserve our empathy. The whole meaning of humanity is showing care and love. By de facto losing your humanity by not showing that to the host. So you're claiming they don't have, rights, but by the very definition of humanity, you're losing yours by treating them with, inflicting pain and so on. So, I mean, there's so many opportunities here. We didn't need the body swap. That's Scooby-Doo nonsense. So I don't know, but on Reddit, they'll tell you you didn't get it. They're like, no, it was good.
No, they could have showed a more internal struggle with Wyatt and Dolores. They could have showed us a little more Dolores come out. She didn't seem to have to struggle with that so much. That's why I'm hoping for something in season 3 with that. I'm hearing about all this completely different style they're going with. So, and kind of on that note, let's go ahead and talk about what do you see Dolores in season 3? What do you see for Dolores, or what do you want to see for Dolores in season 3, and what is the worst thing you would want to see? And yes, LMR.
I had that button ready this time, just in case if you called my name. Season 3. That last scene was a little bit last couple scenes were confusing, like everything else over there in a way, but extra confusing as far as what was revealed, why so much was revealed, and then what does it mean? We see her all dressed up, kind of like when we saw her seeing the real world for the first time. I guess we will not see her in any of the Western clothes. Maybe it's gonna be more of what's going on the outside. So I can expect different role for her. I don't, unless they're doing flashbacks, which they may, to kind of show some stuff, but I don't know if there's a need for any flashbacks at that point. We've seen all kinds of flash forwards, backwards, and loop to loop, and we're still spinning. So for Dolores, I want to see how she finds herself in this reality, and I want to see the reality. We saw it before, but I'm still not sure if this is actually it, because they showed it to us like right there, like everything was so clear. I wonder if that is actually how it looks like for real, and how she's going to do over there, and what is going to be her plan. What is her agenda at this moment? I mean, what else is she going to meet up with Teddy? Is Teddy just going to stand there like a little drone just waiting for her? What else? She's been his core, what do you call it, his thing, like everything revolves around her with him. I want to see how that cornerstone, thank you. So I want to see how she is affecting Teddy, and if we will see Teddy. Just don't leave him there standing. That would be just cruel. So yeah, more modern stuff, and actually showing what she wants. What is her reason? Because I still don't know what she wants. Go ahead, guys.
You thinking, Kenzie? I kind of already said what I want to see from Dolores. I want to see it evening out. So go ahead, Justin.
All I'll say is that like LMR just put it, just said it how it is. How are we supposed to say what we want for her? Because we're supposed to just empathize with the character, but we don't know what she wants because they've made it unclear, because they've been inconsistent. So it's so hard. I know what I want out of the story, but that now kind of requires another retcon of the character, so it makes it very difficult. They can still sell that. Listen, Westworld is still hits on a number of levels, and it's a great show, but I really hope they don't get, and as for not seeing flashbacks, it's Nolan. You probably have to kill him not to put a story in a linear fashion. I mean, he's just obsessed with it. So I don't like. I mean, in season one, if it works, it works. But don't do it just to do it. But yeah, it's so hard to say. It's like, well, what is one of our main protagonists trying to do? It's like, what did she want again? Was it family? Was it freedom? Was it revenge? I don't know. So it's kind of hard to say because you want to see the people that you're attached to win, right? But how do you know what winning is for them if you don't know what their goal is? That's all I'll say. But besides that, Westworld season 3 supposedly not going to take place in Westworld. Probably should have rethought the name. But yeah, I think that we'll get Maeve in Westworld. I want a lot more Maeve. They've overlooked the amount of fan appreciation for Maeve's storyline ever since season 1, which was one of the most linear told storylines. The same thing this season with Akicheta. Great linear story, just told a good story. Didn't like mix it all up to be like, ooh, it was confusing, huh? I'm like, yeah, for no goddamn reason. But yeah, Maeve is interesting to me. Allegory of the Caves, chasing the shadow. She's questioning, what it means to love, what reality is. Reality is what you make of it. There's so many different ways they could go with it. And Dolores, just write down on a chalkboard what her values are, and I'll give them a go and be like, okay, I accept that now. Please stick to them this time, though. Please. That's all I ask.
You're saying you want to talk about Maeve with us next week, sir? I'm putting you on the spot.
If you want my rude ass on, yeah. I love Maeve. I mean, Maeve is Tandy Newton. And in all fairness, I don't mean to sound like, but everybody bitching about people not winning and getting nominated for Emmys. You want to know what? Even though the acting, I think, was superb, the final product has to be as well. And that's unfortunate. But I don't think they deserved half the nominations they got. They deserved them season 1. You don't pamper something you love, right? What's the point of that? Game of Thrones, we'll love it no matter what. We see those guys, and look at what it's become. They're like, these idiots will buy anything. No, let them know. Not that they give a shit about me, but maybe somebody will be pissed. Shift X was pissed too. He's actually got pulled. Maybe they did that. He's on Reddit enough, so maybe they'll get the message. So I don't know. He's quite happy with himself though, and so is Lisa Joy.
I mean, even, as content creators, we want feedback. We want constructive criticism. We want to know what we can do better. We don't try to shut it out, so to speak. But your final thoughts on Dolores Kinsey and what you want to see out of her in season 3?
You all kind of said what I was thinking, but I guess the question is, who, this is like a broad question because it's kind of like, what do we think about it? But for the marketing for season 3, even though it's probably not a 2019 production for HBO, like in terms of a release date, but for 2020, because of how many, I guess, bodies have been changed and the characters have been changed, how will they market this show? Will they use the people from like season 1 and season 2 to continue it? Because we know Dolores kind of went into a different person technically, so will they have it where it's a continuous thing, or will they use the people and be like, gotcha, or that, like, if you don't know, will you understand, or is it going to be one of those shows where it's going to look completely different and you just have to watch all the way through, make it make sense? Yes.
How many people did she bring? How many pearls is it?
5.
Okay. They said they don't know who all those are. Those are your protagonists. That's very worrisome for me for a 5-year plan. They drive your story. So I think, Mackenzie, that's a great point. It's like, it's worrisome because I don't believe, unfortunately, Teddy, I think he's gone. In fairness, he was a one-dimensional character, but it's fine to have one-dimensional characters to service. You have to. They're keys or solar system, if you want to use a Robert McKay metaphor, to make it revolves around the main characters. They open up emotion. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's done. I don't know what they're going to do with Jimmy Simpson at this point. They kind of went in a weird way again. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's very interesting to see because you're right. It's like, how are we going to know who these are? We just going to get a whole bunch of new people? Because that's kind of weird that she picked 5 specifically if they don't exist yet, you know? So a lot of questions to ask. And I mean, in the end, hey, we can still have just endless debates about it, and they're actually insightful and intelligent. You know what I mean? Like it's conversations that have opened up, you know, different thought processes, you know, lines of thought for me and beliefs and all that. And you look into things. Never knew what bioethics was before, so I watched an HBO show. You know, I mean, okay, if it educates you and makes you think, then it's good. So as much as I probably sound like I hate it, I still do love the show, and they can rebound. I mean, just they do need to rebound though. And that's all. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah,
If
the
you're done.
things with the pearls, I just want to say they got some plot armor with that by you only have to remember someone to be able to recreate them. So it could be a blank pearl. With that, I got one question from the chat that I'll answer real quick. Claire Gray asked, do you think Dolores is more self-aware than other hosts? Is that why she changed and seems to be more cruel? She seems to be somehow elevated to a different level or more extreme level. I would say no. I just think she has a different persona because you could argue Maeve is more self-aware than Dolores. You can argue that Akecheta is more self-aware than Dolores. So I would say no on that. I'd say it's just her character. With that, I'd like everyone to give their outros, and I'll give a shout out. And who wants to go first? Go ahead, Kenzie, since you're unmuted.
Oh, I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up today on your Friday evening. And I wanted to also thank the lovely panel that joined me / Johnny today to talk about Dolores, but we also talked about a whole bunch of people. But we always brought it back to Dolores, which is always good. Everybody pretty much knows where to find me. Episode Club will be next week, maybe Wednesday, I hope, around 7:30 East Central Time, probably, because we may have somebody special coming on. But other than that, that's my outro, because everybody knows where to find me, and if they don't, just go to my channel. You can find me there. LMR?
And I'll go to LMR. Having a stream on LMR's book tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Come check it out. We're going to be reviewing, discussing, just picking LMR's fantastic brain, and you go ahead with your fantastic self, LMR.
Wow. No stress over there on that outro. Fantastic self. Johnny, such a pleasure to be here. It's Westworld is we're doing Westworld Mondays. So you're my co-host, and we're going to continue that for as long as we as there's Westworld and there's stuff to talk about. It was so fun coming here and doing Westworld for your subs, because you started with that, and I'll be doing a little bit more of Game of Thrones things coming up, depending on what topics people would like to discuss. And actually, this Sunday, I think you know Johnny, right? I think I mentioned it to you. I'm gonna have somebody special coming over from Bangers, so I'm gonna narrow it down from Bangers. It's gonna be really, really fun. And if you have time on Sunday, I still don't have time exactly picked, but keep an eye out on that. I think you're gonna love it. I'm so happy I can't even contain myself. I had a hard time actually containing myself. Like, oh my god, it's gonna be so cool. Yes, I'm narrowing down to somebody from Bangers. And what else? I'll be doing more streams later on just different things. It's coming up. Doctor Who. John, you forgot. Oh, yeah, I don't think you did your outro yet, but don't forget Vikings. Maybe. If you're gonna be doing that. So yeah, tomorrow, Johnny's channel. I can't wait. It's gonna be so awesome. It's gonna be. I think somebody else will be there too. I don't know if but we'll see. We'll see who's gonna be there.
Yeah,
So.
Mackenzie Burns. Yeah, something like that. She will be there.
Yep.
Yes, thank you very much for that, LMR. I will be rewatching some Vikings this week and be doing a live stream on every season until we get to the new season coming up, or the split season, whichever you would like to call it. Fantastic show. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. I'll be doing more Nooners of Ice and Fire, which is a lot of World of Ice and Fire, on religions and things of that nature, just keep an eye out on my channel and follow me at Johnny B Crazy, capital JBC at the end on Twitter. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much. Nothing but love and positivity coming from us. Thank you, Julianne, Claire Gray, Fandom D Saint, whoever that is, Dog Sidious, Milk K, Al Red Sox fan came out, Cardinal Doomsday. Let's see. And I would keep going. Carrie McDonald was here. Terry T was here. So thank you, everyone. If I missed you, I'm sorry. And we will see you next time for the next installment, and it will be Maeve. So see you later, everyone.
And